Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan has called out Kamala Harris over free speech, over something so important that will affect all of us. He's gone in on her, and it started a conversation that I think is extremely important heading in to the November election in the United States. I think, though, it's important to really acknowledge that if America continues in the way it's going right now, in this trajectory, you guys over there are facing something horrific. You're really going to find yourselves in the depths of despair, and quickly. This will destroy your country if you allow politicians and people who run your country to do so. We've seen this all over the world, and it's only getting worse. In Scotland, they had it with their hate speech bills. It's happening in Australia right now with the misinformation bill that's coming through, and even in the UK, your Prime Minister's worried more about saving sausages than anything else.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages.
I didn't need to add that clip into this video, but it's just hilarious that he said sausages instead of hostages. You idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, my book, Better Man, is now on sale. Look at that. That's me. Fantastic. It's had hundreds of thousands of 5-star reviews. That's not true, but it's had a few, and I reckon you should buy it. I was reading it the other day, just going through my former glories, and I tell you what, I thought to myself, mate, this bloke, he is incredible, and you should get behind him. You should go to his website right now, isaacbutterfield.com, and grab Better Man. If you are a man and you haven't read this, then you're a piece of shit. Good. Now go and get it. All right, ladies and gents, what did Joe Rogan have to say about Kamala Harris, free speech, and what's happening in the United States? Joe Rogan has warned that the First Amendment will come under threat if Kamala Harris is elected. Now, before I get into the First Amendment, which basically protects free speech in the United States, understand this. If we didn't have Rogan speaking his mind and speaking to people who also speak their mind, we would be in a very different world. I don't think, without Rogan, I don't think Musk would have bought X. I don't think that would be the free speech platform that it is. I don't think people would question the government like they do. I don't think many people would change the way that they eat, that they think, that they live their lives. And I think Rogan has had an amazing impact on the entire world. He had, in 2023, 42 million people listen to his podcast, a podcast that goes for 2 or 3 hours. This is something that mainstream media would never dream of. He has an amazing access to so many people, and it is so very important that he's speaking about what could happen if Kamala Harris wins the election in November. So yes, the First Amendment, this is what this whole conversation is about. Now, I'm not from America, but from what I understand, it is there, written into the Constitution, to protect the people of the United States from the government controlling what they can and cannot say. That would never happen, of course. I know that's what you're thinking. No way the government would ever try to control what you say. Don't think back to 4 years ago, whatever you do. What's crazy is there's some people that still don't think back 4 years ago that the government tried to control anything. And they still think that, even since Mark Zuckerberg came out and talking about the control that the government had over Facebook during that time. It just goes to show that some people, even with new knowledge, even with all of this information at our fingertips, have so much cognitive dissonance. If they were sat in front of a psychiatrist, they would be obviously labelled completely. On the topic of free speech and the First Amendment, we don't have any of that protection here in Australia. It's sort of implied in our constitution, like, hey, we should totally respect people's, freedom of speech. But our government doesn't give a flying fuck about our freedom of speech. They don't care about that at all. In fact, they want the opposite. They want it controlled. And that's what the misinformation bill is that's coming through Australian Parliament at the moment, but I'll get to that. The podcast host, Rogan, was discussing censorship on social media platforms during Thursday's episode with former Navy SEAL and CIA contractor Sean Ryan. It's a good episode. Go and listen to it. He warned that only X and Rumble are the places with unfettered free speech. Now, I've got videos on Rumble, and I do enjoy Rumble, and you should go and check them out, because the bits that I cut out of the YouTube videos find their way onto Rumble, because I cannot put it here. It'll get taken down. It is what it is. So if you want to go and follow me on Rumble, go and do that. Now, let's watch the clip of what Rogan's actually talking about here.
I hope, I just hope this shit starts to turn around. I do too, but I don't think it turns around if Kamala Harris gets into office. I think they clamp down more. I think the same stuff that they were trying to do with Twitter, they'll try to do with something else and with other things. They've already openly discussed it. You know, she's openly discussed that the same rules have to apply to Facebook, they have to apply to Twitter.
Don't forget for even a second, ladies and gents, where Twitter was headed prior to Musk coming in. It was a cesspool of corruption and control. Everyone was getting banned anytime they said something that didn't fall in line with the politics of the owners. Madness. Thankfully, Musk bought it, and now it has evolved into a cesspit of just Indian dudes being hit by trains and Asian people being pulled into machinery and unfortunately killed. I see so many people dying on Twitter. It's crazy.
And that Elon Musk could lose his privileges, and like, there's so many wild things that they're saying. Tim Walz said that the First Amendment doesn't apply to misinformation or hate speech.
But who defines what misinformation is? That is the big problem here. What is hate speech? Because I could say I don't think that men could have babies. That's defined as hate speech by some people. So where are we? Where do we sit? What is hate speech and what is not? And who should be silenced and who should have their volume turned up? Here is Tim Walz, or as Trump called him, Tampon Tim, which is fucking hilarious because he put tampons in boys' bathrooms, which is just a great way to spend tax dollars. It's the best nickname in this entire fucking election cycle. It's amazing. But here's what he had to say.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
So who defines these laws? I've been accused of hate speech for making jokes about different people. Should that be quashed on social media? Should I be stopped from making those jokes? Where's the protection there? Who defines these laws? It's incredibly important detail that we have none of. And they're just going to run with it. That should scare you. Even if you're a never Trumper, even if you hate Trump, this should scare you.
It does. You know, sometimes people say things wrong. And the goal of the First Amendment is you say something wrong, and then this guy who's an expert says the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then you correct them.
Yeah, I mean, the misinformation, I mean, it's just all opinion.
Right. Well, so much of it turns out to be true. How about masks don't work?
Hey, Joe Rogan. You will not speak about that subject on my YouTube channel, mate. Here, we believe in science, all right? Shout out to the Fauci gods up there. We love science here, mate. And if you don't want to believe in science, that's your downfall, all right? I wear my mask every day, even today. I love it. And if you want my actual opinion on masks, head to my Rumble page. Links down below. So Joe then goes on to praise masks. and he does 3 Hail Faucis, and he is forgiven for all his sins. But thankfully, the Daily Mail here came in and fact-checked Joe, which was really, really important. However, studies have shown that effective and consistent mask wearing can help slow the spread of COVID-19. Thank you, Daily Mail. Thank you so much. So maybe you think that Kamala Harris, as a president, wouldn't actually want to control what you say. But if you just go from what she has said in the past, you would prove yourself quite wrong.
You can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation, and that has to stop.
Control, control, control. This is all these people care about. The ability for us as a people, citizens of the world, to communicate instantaneously with each other is an incredibly dangerous tool against our respective or singular oligarchy. We are dangerous to them with what we can do right now. Take that away and we fall in line. In Australia, I mentioned before, our misinformation bill, this word that just people love right now, misinformation, that's all people want to talk about. This bill that's coming through Parliament or through Congress, our Parliament is your Congress, that sort of thing, it's dangerous, mate. It's fucking dangerous. Our left-leaning government is bringing it through. They want to bring it in. But what's worse is when our last government was in, a right-leaning government, they wanted to bring in similar laws, similar bills. So we're fucked every single way. Although they do apparently oppose this bill now, which I think is good. The bill in and of itself is all about bringing in someone, a regulator appointed by the government, which I'm sure will be very, very healthy, to control what is said on social media, what's being passed around, what's being shared amongst the people. And they want to be able to fine social media companies. They want to, if Elon allows something to be on Twitter, they want to be able to absolutely destroy him financially. But perhaps rather than going into the detail of every country and their desires to control us, we should ask why. Why do they want to do this? Why are they all doing it seemingly in unison? I'm not sure why they're doing this. Maybe you know. Let me know in the comment section down below. In some more terrible news, former Premier or Governor of Victoria here in Australia, the far left-leaning state itself, I'm going to be there soon doing a show, come and see me live, Dan Andrews has a statue coming his way. Yeah, they're going to make a statue of him, the lockdown king himself, the person who made Victoria the most locked down place in the world during a certain time period, even longer than places like Italy and China, mind you. The COVID king's gonna get a statue. When I read that, I was so shocked. I couldn't believe they were gonna give this prick a fucking statue. But then I read another article, the article after this on the news website, and I thought to myself, I can't decide what piece of news is worse. That Dan Andrews is gonna get a statue, or I broke my lover's penis after my contraceptive coil came loose. A model and social media influencer has revealed that her lover suffered an intimate injury as a result of her dislodged contraceptive coil. I'd rather that happen to my dick than Dan fucking Andrews gets anything. Ladies and gentlemen, be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. Me dick stinks. Toodle au revoir. Bye-bye.